What's up, my friend? Welcome back to another video, and today is the big one. We're going to be talking about my absolute favorite orchestral sample libraries on the market today. This will not be an overly exhaustive list, okay? We're not going to be covering every single library out there because we would literally be spending days together here, but I'm going to cover my absolute favorites, the one I use on a regular basis, and I've essentially split these up into 10 different categories. So we'll start with pianos, guitars, and vocals, then we'll move on to the core orchestral stuff, strings, winds, brass, and percussion, and then we'll round off with some jazz libraries, some ensemble libraries, ethnic libraries together, and then some sound design to finish things off. And of course, at any point, if you want, in accompaniment alongside this video, I've got my sample library buyer's guide down below in the description. It's a comprehensive PDF that I put together covering most of what we'll talk about here in this video, with links to those libraries so you can just click on them without having to search them up yourself. And I talk about, why I enjoy those libraries, the price points, what you can expect from them, and you can grab it down below as a gift in the description for watching this video today. So I highly encourage you to grab that if you want something to hold on to, you want something tangible to download after going through this video. That will be the resource in the description for you there. All right, so let's just dive in. Let's start with pianos, okay? Because I'm a pianist. I grew up classically trained, so pianos are my go-to thing. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but let me just kind of run through my list of pianos here. So, surprise, surprise, my favorite piano is CinePiano. And if this is the first video you've ever watched from me, CinePiano is a library that I've used for 5-6 years at this point. Essentially ever since it came out, I've always loved CinePiano. And let me just play for you and show you why. So what I love about CinePiano is its absolute clarity and the purity of sound. Now, this library was recorded in the MGM scoring stage in Los Angeles, and this is where they also recorded Cinesamples, CineBrass, CinePercussion, CineWinds, CineStrings. The CineSymphony series was all recorded here by Cinesamples, and CinePiano is no different. It's just a beautiful library. Another thing I really like here is that you have this bias forte, bias piano setting on the velocity curve, meaning that if you select one of these, the velocities at which you play on your keyboard will trigger either softer dynamic layers in general or louder ones. So bias piano would be softer dynamic layers here. And just so you know, I was essentially playing at the same velocity this time as I was previously, but the performance overall, you can tell, was a bit on the quieter side because we're now using softer dynamic layers in general. So a very flexible library, plus they give you 4 different patches that you can choose from. This was just the default CinePiano patch, which again is very good for multi-purposes, multiple things. It's very, very versatile, but there's the classical patch, which allows you to create a more of a concert hall setting. Then we have the cinematic patch, which is a bit more on the intimate, close side of things. It's a very warm sound. And then the Rock Studio Grand, as you might be able to guess, is very bangy, like it's very harsh, but very good for cutting through dense mixes. So CinePiano is definitely a library that I go to 99% of the time. Let's move on to the next one, which is Spotlight Piano. And just so you know, I'm going to try to maybe go through 1 or 2 patches of each library I demonstrate. If I went through all the patches they offer, it would probably take a long time as well. And this video is already pretty long, as you can see through the timestamp. Anyway, let's go into Spotlight Piano. And now this one actually does only come with 1 patch, but it's specialized in that it goes into more of the softer dynamics. It's a more intimate, emotional sounding piano. Let's have a listen. Now, what makes this library so special to me is not only does it come with this raw piano layer that we were just hearing, but there's also this atmospheric effect that happens in the background while everything is going on. So if we just turn down the raw piano sound that we were just listening to, if I just play the keys now, right, you hear there's a pad in the background, and that's through these other layers here, Luna, Mist, and Flare. So it's really, really cool. You can tell by default, this is out of the box. It's a very warm, emotional sound. There's not a lot of harsh attacks here. The lattice dynamic they give you is about like a mezzo forte, maybe forte, but yeah, I just really like pulling this library up when I'm inspired with a more intimate piece and just play away. And honestly, the best libraries to me are the ones that inspire you while you play. If a library can put you in a headspace where you feel like the ideas are coming easily and you're just writing music without trying, there's really no better feeling as a composer, if I'm being honest. So yeah, Spotlight Piano is special. Okay, let's move on to a native instruments classic, absolute classic. This is Una Corda, and this one actually comes with 3 patches. Let's have a listen to the felt patch here. So let's solo this up and have a listen. Right, a very unique sound. And I feel like Una Corda was actually one of those libraries that inspired a lot of other felt piano libraries that came out later in the market. So yeah, I mean, Native Instruments actually has quite a few pianos in their catalog, but Una Corda definitely is one of the more unique ones. I'm going to use that word a lot today, I feel like, but you get what I mean. It's not your traditional piano sound. It's definitely sampled in a way that's very specialized for this instrument. So yeah, and then the last piano I want to share with you here that I use regularly is Piano in Blue. This was also created by Cinesamples, the manufacturer of CinePiano. And, it's interesting. This piano was actually used by Miles Davis, who recorded one of his albums with this piano, this exact piano. And so Cinesamples recorded this piano in a beautiful way. Again, another classic. Let's have a quick listen here. I'm tempted to go on because Misty is such a beautiful song. But anyway, this piano absolutely inspires me to play jazz standards. Not just because it was Miles Davis's piano, but it literally has that classic old record sound. I can't quite put my finger on it, but Cinesamples really captured the magic in this instrument. And it's so simple to use, right? You just open it out of the box. This is what it sounds like. So Piano in Blue is an absolute staple when I'm looking for a quote-unquote jazzy piano, if that makes sense. All right, let's move on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete each of these categories once I'm finished with them, because you probably saw that the disk was hitting 100% quite frequently there when I was playing, because I have so many libraries loaded here. So just going to ease up on the CPU every so often as we move our way through. Okay, let's touch on guitars now. So I'm not a guitar player, so I definitely need good libraries to help me, get sort of realistic guitar arrangements in my tracks. But one that I absolutely love, and again, so simple to use, is the Boutique Mood Guitars library from Neroth Audio, which is unfortunately now defunct, or they don't operate anymore. But David really captured something beautiful with this library. So let me just play one of these patches here. This is the BMG Stratocaster. Right, so this is the perfect guitar library for lo-fi and just beats, beats where you're just chilling. This is the library for you. Again, another super inspiring library that's easy to use, an absolute win in my book. And it's such a unique library too. I mean, there are lots and lots of guitar libraries out there on the market, but not very many that specialize in lo-fi guitar. So really like this one. Another one here is Hemisphere from Fracture Sounds, and this is more of a general electric guitar library, but it also has that layer functionality that we talked about for the Spotlight piano earlier. So. Yeah, so there's just a crisp purity in this library that I really love as well. Just to quickly mention, all the libraries we'll talk about here today, I'll list them down below in the description. I'll try not to forget any of them, but if you're interested in any of these, I'll also link them down below if you're interested in checking them out. All right, let's move on to an Orange Tree Samples guitar. And Orange Tree is really known for their guitar libraries. Very, very well sampled, very flexible, lots of functionality, and I have a few of them here. So this one is called Evolution Songwriter. It's an acoustic guitar. Let's have a quick listen. Right, really beautiful. Now, again, these libraries come with so much stuff. It personally overwhelms me a little bit, and it's not the most intuitive programming for me personally. But one thing I do like is that they give you a chord player, essentially. And so for this strumming engine, I like to use the automatic chords. And all I have to do here is play a chord in the blue playable range here in contact, as you can see. And then I use the yellow key switches here at the bottom and go between those to play the chord. Right, so it's pretty cool, and you can create custom chords as well, just the notes you're holding, or disable the engine to go back to your playing, playability stuff. So it's a really cool library, and the other ones they have jazz archtop guitars, they have electric guitars all over the place. So it's just a lot of cool tools to have at your disposal. The other one I really like here sometimes that I use is Strummed Acoustic 1 and 2 from Native Instruments. And now they have the Acoustic Sunburst Deluxe, but Strummed Acoustic was sort of the staple that they had for a long time for strummed patterns. Let's have a listen to maybe Nashville here. Right, so these are all sort of like pre-programmed patterns that you can use and drag into your session. So that's for the guitars. Lots of flexibility there. Again, lots of versatility. Guitar libraries are plenty on the market as well. Let's move on to vocals now. So they're really hard to replicate in sample libraries, but some of them just sound so good. And the ones that I use consistently are from Orchestral Tools. I'm still waiting for the Berlin Choir, by the way, guys. You're not the only one. But let's start with Metropolis Ark 1. They've got some beautiful, beautiful choirs, female and male, as you can see here, high and low. And they have dedicated articulations. Let's hear the women legato here. Very cool. And I love that they sampled up to that high C here. Right, it really has that dramatic sound in there, which is beautiful. You don't quite get that in a lot of other libraries. Now, the staccato patches, both the female and male, they come with random staccato syllables. So this is really good to use if you just want to put some punctuation into your tracks. You don't really care about the syllables that they're singing. You just want that human element with that emphatic punch. I use these patches quite a lot. It almost sounds like gibberish Latin or something. So it works. And then let's hear the men as well from Metropolis Ark 1. There we go. Now, Metropolis Ark 2 also has some beautiful choir, and of course, Ark 2 is geared more towards the quiet side of the orchestral trailer scene, whereas Metropolis Ark 1 is the loud fortissimo side. So everything that they have in this library is much more subdued, more subtle, and the same goes for the choir. Now, they also have a children choir in this library, and that sounds like this. Here's the legato for that. Just beautiful. Okay, then some other choirs I use are from Time Macro, and I really just use these for its sustains. So it's a bit more of a general purpose here, but this is a mixed choir, so both male and female, and it sounds like this. Yeah, the OT choirs just have a very transparent, pure sound. I'm going to use that word a lot too, I think, pure. But it really is so true, I think, for these libraries. The way they recorded it in Teldex, the microphone technique, the recording engineers, the mixing in it, it's all so good. Now, something slightly different is the alt choir from Westwood. So let's go up to that. There we go, Westwood. And they've done alt other things as well, not just choir, but this is one library that I think stands out in a really cool way. They do things slightly differently, so let's have a listen. right? So it's not just a straight syllable there. They kind of improv a little bit here and there. They do have the regular legato here as well, though. All right, let's move on to the next library here, and this is from Audio Imperia. They've got a couple of solo voices, which is really cool to see. They have Jaeger, which is an absolute classic. I don't have that here right now, but one that I did want to show you here is from their solo library. They have a soprano angelic and a soprano operatic patch, and it comes with legato and sustains. So let's have a listen to this legato ah syllable from the soprano angelic. Very nice. And then they sort of have a complementary solo boy soloist library where they recorded two boy singers, and this one is Peter, and let's hear his legato ooh. So again, a very pure sound from these libraries here. So yeah, vocals are hard to get right, just like solo strings. But Orchestral Tools, Audio Imperia, they definitely do a great job. And of course, all the other companies who dare to take on choir, Westwood being another one of them, very brave efforts and definitely well done for sure. So yeah, that's for the vocals and the choir. Let's take that out. And let's move on to the strings now, the bread and butter of the orchestra. All right, there we go. So yeah, surprise, I still use CSS to this day. One of my absolute favorites. And let's have a quick listen to the legato here. Right, so very smooth, hyper romantic sound, a little bit on the darker side, but for me, it fits the bill very nicely. And it also comes with shorts and other stuff as well. Let's have a listen to. So CSS is pretty unique in that it controls the lengths of your shorts or the types of shorts by the mod wheel. And mod wheel is typically used to control dynamic layers, especially for the longs, right? But for the shorts, that's how they programmed it here. So pretty cool. And then other articulations as well, but just to save time, I kind of removed them for today, but I've done reviews on this library plenty in the past as well. And then a relatively new kid on the block here is Lux Orchestral Strings from SonuScore. And so let's have a listen to the cellos from this library as well. And I hadn't mentioned it yet, but we're mainly looking at cellos here for this video, this comparison. Right, so I've mentioned it before that Lux kind of reminds me of Berlin strings from Orchestral Tools. It has that same sort of brightness to it. It's not too much vibrato, but it's a really beautiful, clean, open sound that you get from this. So I really enjoy the vibe that this gives me. So it's sort of a more neutral, all-purpose string library, I guess you could say. Now let's move on to the next one here, which is a performance samples library. This is a classic VISTA, and it's more of a legato library. So let's have a listen to that. There we go. So it definitely sounds like it's more than 3 cellos, but basically this library is very, very playable. It responds under the fingers. The legato seems buttery smooth to me, and I really like layering this with a slightly brighter string library, sort of like Lux or maybe Berlin strings or something like that. So have a lot of fun with VISTA if I need that soaring legato passage with a string ensemble, even if it's a chamber size. It sounds larger than a chamber size. And speaking of chamber sizes, Spitfire has their absolute classic Spitfire chamber strings. And again, let's have a listen here to the legato patch. Now, the Essentials version of chamber strings is beautiful. It gives you the absolute basics of what you need to get started, but you can honestly do a lot with that library. I just decided to get the regular core version because it has, a little bit more fleshed out articulations and instrumentation. There's a lot more playability there. So this is what this sounds like here. Right, so whereas VISTA actually sounded more of like a symphonic section almost, chamber strings actually sounds like chamber strings in this library. So it's a cool difference, but definitely a bit on the brighter side as well. And I'm going to include solo strings in this section as well. So let's have a listen to CSSS, which is Cinemax Studio solo strings. And I love this library, especially the viola here, but let's have a listen to the solo cello legato as well. Right, and like the other Cinemax Studio libraries, it fades to niente. It fades to 0 at the bottom of the mod wheel. So you definitely get a lot of dynamic range as well. So beautiful solo strings that I typically use as my go-to for a lot of projects. Now, another kit on the block, a newer one here, is called Heritage Cello from Sonic Cinema. So let me see if I can find it here. Right here, Sonic Cinema. And it's sort of like the follow-up to their Intimate Legato series, the Intimate Legato Cello. So this library is a bit warmer. There's more articulations. It's a lot more fully fledged. And let's have a listen to this legato here. There we go. So definitely a lot closer up. It's a lot more of an intimate sound. It sounds like it's actually recorded in a smaller studio or a small room. So if you want a solo cello that sits on top of, let's say, a piano, then that would make sense. It's a simpler arrangement that requires a more intimate sound from your samples as well. Now, what's really cool about this library is it also offers a rebow key. So you heard me playing some notes and then using that key switch, which is actually this B flat right here, this green one, to rebow that note. So that's the functionality there. And there's a lot of other solo cellos that I use too, but I just wanted to share a couple of them here with you today. All right, moving on from strings, now we've got woodwinds. An underrated section of the orchestra, probably the most underappreciated, but honestly, one of my favorites. And my woodwind selection is honestly very, very simple, very straightforward. And CSW is my go-to woodwind library for sure. It used to be Berlin woodwinds, but now I kind of use CSW a little bit more just because it's a bit more consistent. So let's have a listen here to the flute. Right. So it has that similar, slightly darker signature like CSS does. But, I always tend to EQ the Cinematic Studios libraries a little bit, but this is one where I sort of leave alone a lot of times because the tone itself is so beautiful and I tend not to want to tamper with it too much. And of course, the legato is beautiful. This is the legato that we've been playing, right? So just beautiful stuff. Now, another library that I'd like to use quite a bit nowadays is Emotive Woodwind Soloists from Fracture Sounds. And let's have a listen to that. So it also comes with, here it is, the core orchestral woodwinds, flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, but they also have a doubler here, cor anglais, English horn, right? And then they also have a bonus piccolo patch. But let's have a listen to the English horn. Right, so the name of this library suggests its use case. It really is intended for a more soloistic feature, whereas a library like Cinematic Studio Woodwinds, they function well as soloists, but equally well in the orchestra, like sitting back and allowing other instruments to take center stage. Whereas this library, Emotive Woodwind Soloists, they're mic'd up quite close, and you hear all the detail in the sound, so it's really, really beautiful. So those are my two libraries, go-to libraries for core orchestral woodwinds when I want good legato and playability. If I want woodwind textures like runs and stuff, this is where Hollywoodwinds comes in. It's an absolute classic, one of the first libraries that Cinesample's ever released, if not the first. So a couple patches here that I use a lot is the Unison Tremolos patch. Right, so this patch is basically mapped with major seconds and then minor seconds, an octave above. So you get that flexibility there. Okay, and the other one I use a lot is the scales one, which is, known pretty much by everybody. Right, so you get a lot of flexibility because it's not just tonic to tonic that they give you. They also give you 1 octave and 2 octave variations, and they also give you from dominant to dominant as well. So let's say we're in the key of C major, you not only get the C major scale, but you also get the G major, the C major scale, but going from G to G. So you still retain the F natural in there. So it's really cool. You get that bit of flexibility, and of course, pre-recorded runs and textures will always sound better than manually programmed ones using your samples. So yeah, great stuff there. Okay, let's move on now to the brass, the most powerful, loudest section of the orchestra. And I can't go talking about brass without mentioning CineBrass from Cinesamples. Still such a classic sound, and it sounds just so good. So here's the trumpet ensemble articulations patch from CineBrass Core. Right, so the articulations patch combines shorts plus legato. If you press the sustain pedal, that's how you activate legato. And the length of the short is determined by how hard you play. So if you play really lightly, you get really short notes. And if you play really hard, then you get the marcato short, they call it, or sort of like a half note short. And then the mod wheel determines how loud and how, the dynamic layer that the short plays. So at the top of the wheel, it's quite loud. And at the bottom of the wheel, you get a quieter dynamic. So a different way of programming compared to something like Cinemax Studio Series. But again, it's just learning your libraries, right? It's pretty cool. And the CineBrass Pro is sort of the follow-up to CineBrass Core, where they filled in a lot of the holes, asked a lot of composers what they wanted, and this is the result. So they have a 12 horns patch, which is really cool to see. Truly magical, declamatory sound. You can't go wrong with Cinesamples brass. And then they have other brass libraries too. One I really like is CineBrass Sonore. So it has trumpets and horns, and it sort of focuses on the mid dynamics, sort of the mezzo piano, mezzo forte dynamic, a more smooth, buttery sound. Right. So recorded again in the MJM scoring stage, and it has that beautiful singing sound. Very, very clear and very open, just like the earlier libraries. Now, if I want a slightly darker sound, then I'll go with something like Cinemax Studio Brass. And it stands up to quality to the strings and the woodwinds. And this is what the four horns patch sounds like. Yeah, so one thing this library is really known for is its insane dynamic range. Like CineBrass Pro has a big dynamic range as well. But Cinemax Studio Brass sort of made it the standardized thing where it's really, the library is really sampled from the quietest dynamics to the searing high dynamics there. And yeah, it's just covered in essentially all ways there. So this is a more traditional brass library, just like the strings and woodwinds. You get the traditional articulations, but let's hear maybe a couple of these shorts as well. Right. So there you go. Beautiful. Now, let's go through one more here. And this is the newest kid on the block in this video, at least. And this is Majestic Brass Soloists from Fracture Sounds, following up on their Emotive Woodwind Soloists and their soft string soloists. So I just wanted to share with you the trombone here. This is the best legato trombone that I've heard thus far in a sample library. And they have both a regular version of legato and a mellow version. So let's hear both here. There we go. So yeah, just take a moment to think about how far sample libraries have come and actually how affordable they've become as well. I mean, obviously with the addition of more competition, more companies trying to do similar things, the market goes a certain direction, but just the quality that the sample libraries have improved at is just incredible over the past decade or so. Libraries are trying to put a unique spin on certain things, approach it with their own sound, their own setup, and a lot of them contain a certain magic that I just really like. They focus more on inspiration and capturing a realistic performance over ultimate tweakability and too much flexibility. I'm the sort of composer who likes to load up a patch, start playing, and just write as quickly as possible. But if I have patches with tons and tons of knobs and too many articulations, too many mic positions and stuff, it honestly can get a bit overwhelming. And I think the whole point of composing is to make music and not struggle to make music, right? Now that could be skill issue. Maybe some libraries are easy to use and I'm just not good at using them. Totally the case with a lot of libraries. But I just tend to value the ones that give you an easy workflow and makes the life just a lot easier. So those are my sort of go-to brass libraries at the moment. Now, when it comes to percussion, again, my choice is pretty minimal. I stick with maybe 1 or 2 libraries at the very most. Let me share with you here. And the percussion library I use 99% of the time is CinePerc from Cinesamples. So these are just a couple of the instruments here. Here's the timpani. Right, so a very big, emphatic sound. Again, recorded in NGM, so it's going to sound good. Here's some cymbals. Right, so many options there. They give you quite a few cymbals to choose from as well, and then techniques that you can go from. So those are the cymbals. Let's hear some of the tubular bells here as well. Awesome. Now I also really like the drum kit that's included in CinePerc. Yep, you're never going to hear any drum playing better than that. So anyway, CinePerc I love. It gives you so much variety. So it actually comes with 4 different percussion libraries now consolidated into one. The core naturally has the core orchestral percussion. Then the pro version has drums and all the other stuff that you might need. And then the epic focuses on the epic side of orchestral percussion and then some auxiliary things as well. And so yeah, it's just pretty cool. You pretty much could find anything you want inside CinePerc for percussion. Now, if I want something slightly more emphatic, a bit more epic, quote unquote, then I'll go with something like Damage 2 from Heaviosity. And that sounds a bit like this. Right, and this is one of those libraries you can have ultimate flexibility with in terms of mic positioning and panning as well. So whatever drum you want, you can bring it closer, put it at the back of the room, pan it left, pan it right. So it's a very visual drag and drop way of moving things around, which I really like. So yeah, that is Damage 2. That is the percussion library stuff. Love that. All right, let's move on to jazz. I personally love jazz. I write quite a bit of big band music, and using jazz harmonies in my music is a lot of fun, but there's not as many developers focusing on the jazz side of things because jazz libraries are so hard to do well. Jazz instruments like trombones, saxes, trumpets, capturing them in a jazz style is very difficult because they play in such a stylized way. But one company that's really taken the bull by the horns is Straight Ahead Samples. And ever since their very first library, using this smart delay concept, Birth of the Trumpet, the other libraries, the other instruments have been just very, very cool to see. So let me just play a quick line here for the Eminent Trombone library in real time. Sounds like, sounds all right, right? Sounds decent, I guess. But if you turn on smart delay, what happens is I play the same line, the engine delays my performance by a few beats, and then spits out a more realistic performance. Night and day difference. Let's try another one. Let's start with real time. Let's hear what a different line might sound like. Sounds all right. Let's try smart delay. Right? It literally sounds like a real player. It's almost unbelievable how uncanny it is. So essentially, I think the way it works is that this library and all the other ones using smart delay, which is all of these, it goes through its bank of thousands of samples that have been recorded, and it analyzes your performance. It notes the lengths of MIDI notes, the velocities of which you're playing, the notes themselves, the intervals, everything, and then it puts out or outputs a performance in a swing or jazzy style. So cool. And I can only imagine how much work went into putting this technology together. So just big props to Trey for putting this together. It's just so cool to see. Now, another developer who is focused pretty much exclusively on the jazz side of things as well is Authentic Soundware, run by Jared. And so Jared's also a really great guy, does a lot of great work, and I think the culmination of his efforts now are in two libraries, the Jazz Anthology Drums and the newly released Jazz Anthology Bass. So the drums library essentially is the only jazz drum library you'd ever need. It gives you all the basic hits and stuff. Right, you get your basic drum kit, but they also give you loops at the top. Right? Now, of course, if you don't like those loops, you can actually edit them yourself. So here, you can see if I play one of these loops. Now we have the pedal, the hat pedal being played on these beats right here, sort of like the 2s and the 4s. Let's see what happens if I add in a couple of these right there. Right, you hear that extra hi-hat being played right there. So let's take those out. Let's maybe put in the cross stick in some random spots. It's not going to sound good, but... Right, so these are actually not loops. It's using an engine to put together the performance, put the samples together into a realistic performance. So cool. And they give you all these different presets for the sound, the BPM, the style of the loop. So let's try another one of these. Maybe Big Band Shuffle. Let's see what that kind of sounds like. Right? So it kind of influences the patterns that you're going to make there. Love that. And then Jazz Anthology Bass just came out very recently, and it's so easy to use. So let me just play the walking performance default patch here for you. right? So as you may be able to tell, this library is made specifically for the walking bass purposes in a lot of jazz music. But it also comes with some other articulations that will help just make this performance a lot more realistic. But I think 9 times out of 10, if you just stick with the walking performance, you'll get a lot of good results from this library. So great stuff, Jared. Thanks for filling in this area of the jazz market as well. And then ProjectSam have some wonderful stuff as well with their swing series, Swing and Swing More. I often use the ukulele from this library. Right, so for this particular patch, the different chord types are laid out on the different octaves on your keyboard, and then how hard you play determines the style of playing. Is it muted? Is it short? Is it arpeggio? And so on and so forth. So there's a lot of instruments actually included in this library, but same idea for Swing More. There's a lot of other articulations and instruments that they sampled here. So just as an example, here's the full big band chords. Right. So yeah, different voicings laid out across the keyboard. And so actually libraries like these are really good because you can learn a lot from their voicing. If you have a trained ear, you can sort of pick out the chord qualities and the way they're voicing it, like where are the extensions being played in the chord? Are the bottom notes sort of the root notes? Is it a rootless voicing sort of thing? But it's just sample libraries can be really great educational tools as well. So don't underestimate that side of technology too. All right, so that is the jazz stuff. We're almost done here. Let's go through the ensemble ethnic libraries here as well. And one that I find super inspiring is Jade Ethnic Orchestra from Struts Off Sampling. So here's just a couple patches from it. It's a contact player library as well, so you can see it show up here on the side. Right, so this is in a Chinese Mongolian inspired library. Really cool to see. And they have woodwinds, they have strings, voices, pads, percussion. So it's sort of an all-in-one library there. Just to show you one more example of what it includes, here's the Erhu One Ensemble. Right, there's just a vibe, a character to this patch that it just makes you want to play. I love it. It's so unique too, right? There's only a few other like Chinese Asian inspired sample libraries on the market, but I think Jade just has a lot of character that's recorded into it, so I love it. Another series that is sort of an all-in-one ensemble library is the Novella series from Westwood, and so this one in particular, Novella Blackwater, contains strings, some violin stuff, electric guitar, a mandola, trumpet, harmonica, upright piano. So let's have a listen to some of these legato strings here. Let's have a listen to the low strings legato as well. right? So there's a lot more sharpness and brightness to the novella series for sure. A lot of character. And let's listen to the upright piano here as well. So. Right? So not your traditional piano. There's definitely some character there, and it's sampled in a pretty unique way. So novella series, definitely worth checking out if you're looking for something just a little bit different. The first novella, Origin, this is more for singer-songwriters, more slightly more on the traditional side, sort of the light band sort of stuff. But Blackwater kind of goes more into the countryside, if you will, the western stuff. So it's pretty nice. Now, next up, we've got a classic from ProjectSam, and this is called Lumina. So they have their Symphobia series. The first and the second are focused more on the traditional side of the cinematic orchestra, but the third, they really took a turn to focus more on the fairy tale fantasy side of things, which is really cool to see. So they have a bunch of stuff, traditional stuff too, strings, brass, woodwinds, percussion, but they also have choir, mixed ensemble, sound design, and legato instruments and different orchestrations, which is really inspiring. So let's have a listen to one of these here called Storyteller. Right? And if you want to separate them a little bit, they give you some of those options as well. So if you just want to hear the strings for that texture, right? So nice. And then let's hear just the winds, piano, harp, and percussion. It's so beautiful, and I don't know, it's just, yeah, so nice. And then let's hear maybe one of these legato instruments. Let's hear the oboe. Why not? Here we go. Legato also comes with staccato and then the sustains patch, if you will. But legato, here it is. There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, if I ever need a dash of inspiration in this sort of fantasy style, Lumina always covers me there. Okay, now if you're looking for an all-in-one orchestra that you can rely on, Spitfire delivers that with Spitfire Symphony Orchestra. So you might know that they used to have these libraries individually on their own. So the strings, winds, brass, and percussion, they were sold separately, but more recently they've combined them together into all four folders. So within each one is essentially its own library, right? So let's have a listen to the alto flute, and this performance patch contains legato essentially. So and the performance patches are great because it combines both shorts like staccatos with the legato, and the legato adapts to your playing. It kind of moves faster as you're playing quickly, so it's really nice. Let's hear one more example here. Let's hear the strings, and let's hear maybe the cello. So. Nice. There we go. And then if you want something a bit more gritty or a bit more ambitious, and you want the taste of the Albion series, but not have to own like all the different Albions, then they also give you the Albion's Orchestral Selects, and they essentially selected a whole bunch of patches from the different Albions and put them into one library. So let's hear the epic strings, for example, the low ones here. Right, so a lot of character in this library because again, it's sort of like handpicked specialty patches from the different Albion series, which is sort of like Spitfire's version of the Metropolis Ark series from Orchestral Tools. So there we go, a bunch of ensemble slash all-in-one libraries that you can pick from, a lot of them with their own characters, which I love to see. And then last but not least is sound design. Actually, maybe it is least because I don't use sound design very much at all, evidenced by this one patch that I brought up here for this video, and that is Elysian. And I really like Elysian because it's not just a traditional like oscillator where it just creates, a simple saw wave or something like that. It actually gives you sort of a sound design library, but in the form of a sample library instrument. So let me just play a little bit. Right, let's maybe try another one of these patches here. So yeah, you have so many things you can choose from. The meter itself, let's see, the mood, let's go with mysterious, and that kind of narrows it down here. Let's try Mars pulses, eights, triplets. Yeah, super cool. And then, yeah, they give you what they call spheres versus pulses, which are sort of like the patterns. Spheres, I think, are just more of the one-shot hits or pads or sort of things. So let's maybe hear one of these here. Let's take out the time signature restriction. Maybe hear a bright pad. And the mod wheel plays such a big role in Elysian as well. Like it adds more intensity, it adds processing, and you can see the GUI reflect where the mod wheel is too. So it's kind of cool to see. But yeah, I'm not a big sound design guy, but if I need some extra oomph in my tracks and I want that bit of cinematic flair, then Elysian definitely is in my template for sure. So that is it. Thank you for sticking with me through all these sample libraries that that I personally use on a regular basis. And you might find that these are some of the ones that you use as well, or maybe you found some new ones that you want to entertain the thought of picking up, especially around this time of year with Black Friday or like, near the holiday times with sales coming up and stuff. It's always cool to explore your options. But that being said, again, if you want to check out my sample library buyer's guide, I've got pretty much all these libraries that we talked about in this video inside of that guide. And again, it's completely free. So if you're looking for a comprehensive resource that you can follow along with, or you want to check out on your own time, read my thoughts about a certain library, know the pricing, how I would use them, and have the direct links so you can click there and without having to search them up yourself, then I invite you to grab it down below and again in the description as a thank you for checking out this video today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And let me know if you have certain libraries that you want me to take a look into in the future, keeping in mind that I tend to focus more on the traditional side of the orchestra. I tend to like more acoustic sounding instruments that have a real raw inspirational sound. I would love to hear from you. So let me know your favorites down below. And thank you again for watching. I'll catch you in the next one and have a great rest of your year. I'll see you soon. Take care.